Climate change is an issue that has spanned many generations and will continue to span many more if efforts are not taken to reduce its impact. Sadly, studies show that developing countries and least developed countries will face the brunt of the effects of climate change. Effects have already started, with floods, rising sea levels, and rising temperatures becoming more frequent. An answer usually put out there is for these developing countries to not use harmful pollutants like fossil fuels for energy. Unfortunately, the answer is not that simple. Utilizing fossil fuels for industry is the easiest and cheapest way to develop a country. Many developed countries used a large amount of fossil fuels and coal to kickstart their industrial revolutions, so denying these developing countries access to these resources raises a debate. Developing countries are too poor at the moment to create and implement other sources of energy without an economic collapse. However, if developing countries continue to use fossil fuels and other pollutants for energy at their current rates, by 2050 they will experience more climate and environmental catastrophes. This means in the future, developing countries will have to allocate more resources to fight the effects of climate change. It becomes imperative to find a solution quickly. Luckily, a solution is available. Developed countries have made great strides in creating green technologies. Examples include Tesla creating electric cars and Molecule creating nanochips to reduce toxins in the air. Countries like Canada say they aim to become environmentally sustainable by 2050. These great strides can be used to help developing countries have a chance of curbing their own climate change. Developing countries need the resources, as currently they do not have the ability to create or purchase the resources themselves. Developed countries' governments should pass national legislation to invest and fund projects in developing countries to give developing countries access to clean and emission-free technologies so developing countries do not have to allocate resources so as to not lose economic growth. This is ultimately the best way for developing countries to gain green technology without sacrificing economic growth and the well-being of their citizens. Canada is already participating in this initiative. In 2013, Canada established the Canadian Climate Fund for the private sector in Asia. This fund works twofold. Firstly, it supplies funding for developing countries' green tech programs. The funds are specifically meant for investing in renewable energy, urban development, and sustainable transportation, all heavily monitored to make sure progress is being made. Second, the fund will provide resources for enabling investment, facilitate new deployment of climate-friendly technologies, and enable climate-friendly policies. Canada's method has brought great results, financing solar and geothermal power to countries like Bangladesh, Cambodia, Samoa, and Indonesia. These projects have brought much needed development to these developing areas and prestige to Canada. There are multiple benefits to this approach. The main benefit is that developing countries will not have to reallocate resources to create climate-friendly tech themselves. This allows developing countries to focus on development and improving the lives of their citizens. Multiple developing countries have poorer infrastructure, and climate change would mean diverting resources away from improving infrastructure. With that burden removed, developing countries can focus on the well-being of their citizens. An additional benefit of investing in developing countries is that these technologies can reduce smog in highly polluted areas like Beijing and Shanghai. This will improve living conditions in those countries tremendously, as currently 3.7 million people worldwide succumb to illnesses related to poor air quality. Another benefit is providing more jobs in developing countries. It will still take many workers to create and run the new climate-friendly machinery, whether it be manufacturing wind turbines, a safety inspector of a hydraulic plant, or a manager at an ethanol factory. All of this can help stimulate a developing economy. In conclusion, developed countries have an opportunity to help developing countries. By investing and funding developing countries in their quest for sustainable development, developed countries can ensure the stability of developing countries. Climate change affects us all, so it is critical individuals and governments help each other today for a better tomorrow.